Welcome to the news headline this hour. We would take a moment now to focus on our front line, the healthcare workers. They are risking their own lives to treat people. Let's have a closer look and understand the challenges faced. Dr. Dila Abdul Salam watched in terror last month as scores of strangers gathered under the balcony of her aunt's empty apartment in the Egyptian city of Ismailia, where she had temporarily sheltered after leaving her elderly parents at home to protect them from exposure to the coronavirus. The crowd called out her name, hurling threats until she dialed the police for help. "You have moved here to make us sick," someone shouted. Abdul Salam's ordeal is just one of many in the wave of assaults on doctors, illustrating how public fear and rage can turn against the very people risking their lives to save patients in the pandemic. While many cities across the world erupt at sundown with collective cheer to thank frontline workers treating COVID-19 patients, in Egypt, India, the Philippines, Mexico and elsewhere, some doctors and nurses have come under attack, intimidated and treated like pariahs because of their work. This pandemic, especially in places with limited healthcare infrastructure, has already subjected doctors to hardships. But medical workers, seen as possible source of contagion, face another staggering challenge in these countries: the stigma associated with the illness. In Latin America's calendar is packed with homages to national heroes and historic watersheds. El Salvadorans will now not soon forget February 9, 2020, when President Nayib Bukele marched into the National Assembly with soldiers to demand that lawmakers pass a languishing request for security loans. His martial theatrics drew applause. Bukele enjoys rock star ratings, while the Salvadorans legislature is encrusted with scoundrels and dominated by a tainted old guard. Young, media savvy and brillianted Bukele came to the office promising efficiency and rectitude.
Si estos sinvergüenzas no aprueban esta semana el plan control territorial, nos volvemos a convocar aquí el domingo, le volvemos a pedir sabiduría a Dios y le decimos: Dios, tú me pediste paciencia, pero estos sinvergüenzas no quieren trabajar para el pueblo.
Bukele, experto en agitar las redes sociales, ha creado una situación que, según algunos, quiebra el orden constitucional, pero en la que cuenta con el apoyo firme de sus seguidores.
With any luck, who knew he might even help the violence-prone and democratically challenged nation morph into another Costa Rica, Central America's gold standard for peace, progress and institutional integrity. Yet the preemptive fury of his response to COVID-19 points not just to how far El Salvador must go to match its neighbor, but also the pandemic's empowerment of populists. For the first 3 years of his presidency, Donald Trump did not publicly utter the words pandemic or preparedness, not in speeches, rallies, or his many new conferences planned and impromptu.
Inequalities and extra burdens that black communities have historically had to deal with in this country. We see it in the disproportionate impact of COVID-19 on our communities, just as we see it when a black man goes for a jog and some folks feel like they can stop and question and shoot him if he doesn't submit to their questioning. Injustice like this isn't new. What is new is that so much of your generation has woken
On Friday,
up to
the White House pointed to extensive planning exercises the administration conducted in reports it wrote warning threat of in 2018. Still, Trump has repeatedly said that the blame for the federal government having inadequate stockpiles of crucial supplies and machines needed to cope with an outbreak lay with his predecessor, Barack Obama. Obama has been a persistent fail for Trump on a number of issues, but in the case of planning for the pandemic, he has devoted little attention to the 69-page playbook from the Obama administration about the threat of a viral outbreak that might include Ebola or an airborne respiratory illness like coronavirus. And the Obama administration could draw from a similar document written during the administration of George W. Bush in 2006. The politics of pandemic planning have gotten increasingly pitched as the COVID-19 death toll continues to mount in the United States. Trump claims he inherited a broken, terrible system from Obama. Critics counter that Trump had 3 years in the office to prepare, more than enough time to build on the pandemic strategy he inherited. The friction was laid bare in the Rose Garden and the White House briefing room on Friday. The United States has dispatched a shipment of oil to Belarus, which is seeking to diversify its supplies after a price dispute with Russia, the Belarusian government said on Friday. The 80,000-ton shipment is expected to arrive at the Lithuanian part of Klaipėda in June, and from there it will be sent by rail to Belarus. Foreign Minister Vladimir Mikheyev said cooperation with the US on oil is an element of energy security. Tension between Belarus and Russia have been heightened in recent months by stalled negotiations over deeper integration of their economies. Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko accused the Kremlin of using oil supplies as leverage to push from an eventual merger of the two countries. Belarus had long relied on discounted oil from Russia, but most shipment from there halted in January after disagreement over prices. Belarus subsequently received oil shipment from Norway, Azerbaijan and Saudi Arabia. Russia and Belarus later reached a compromise agreement, and Russian state oil company Rosneft said Friday it expected to ship about 9 million tons to Belarus this year, about half the amount Belarus has bought in the previous years. The global coronavirus death toll passed 3 lakhs with more than 4.4 million confirmed cases around the world, according to a data from Johns Hopkins University. The US remains the world's worst hit country with more than 86,600 deaths. On Friday evening, the House passed a $3 trillion coronavirus relief package that would include another round of stimulus payments of about $1,200 per person. President Donald Trump has suggested he won't support the bill. Critics on Friday said US Immigration and Customs Enforcement is presenting families detained at the border with the choice of allowing children to be released without them or staying together and facing possible virus exposure in detention. Additionally, the CDC issued a health alert to physicians on a rare but potentially deadly condition like to COVID-19 in children that has now been reported in at least 19 states and Washington, D.C. China on Friday urged the United States to meet it halfway and strengthen cooperation in the fight against the coronavirus pandemic after President Donald Trump threatened to sever bilateral ties. Relations between the world's two largest economies have deteriorated in the recent weeks, with both sides trading barbs over the origin of the virus that has killed more than 3 lakh people. To maintain the steady development of China-US relations in the fundamental interest of the people in both countries and is conducive to world peace and stability, said Foreign Minister spokesperson Zhao Lijian at a press briefing. At present, China and the US should continue to strengthen cooperation against the epidemic, defeat the epidemic as soon as possible, treat patients and restore economy and production. But it requires the US to meet halfway with China. The comments came after Trump further hardened his rhetoric towards China, threatening to cut ties with the rival superpower completely as relations have steadily deteriorated over the pandemic.
Which gives America significant power.
Whoever controls the flows of money at the end of the day controls a lot of things in the economy and ends up being the puppet master of a lot of things that go on around the world.
China hopes to
It was another day of deadly violence in Afghanistan. The cold-blooded murder of 24 women, children and babies at a hospital in the Afghan capital were horrific enough. But as Frederick Bonnot made his way through the bullet-riddled maternity unit, he realized something more. We would like to advise some of the images here are distressing. The attackers had walked straight past a number of other wards, all closer to the entrance of Kabul's Dasht-e-Baraj hospital, and made straight for the maternity unit,
provoking panic inside and a gun battle with security forces.
The attackers were shooting at anyone in this hospital for no reason. It's a government hospital, and a lot of people bring in their women and children for treatment.
To him, it meant one thing: this was no mistake. What I saw in the maternity demonstrates it was a systematic shooting of the mothers. Bonnot, head of programs for Medicine Sans Frontiers, MSF in Afghanistan, said. They went through the rooms in the maternity, shooting women in their beds. It was methodical. They came to kill the mothers. It is true, Afghanistan is used to seeing violence most of the rest of the world cannot imagine. An investigation last year found that on average, 74 men, women and children were killed every day throughout the month.
And at a hospital in the eastern province of Nangarhar, more chaotic scenes after a suspected
SMH this morning.
Chip maker Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company's $12 billion investment in the United States will increase U.S. economic independence from China, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo said in a statement on Friday. TSMC, a major supplier to Apple Inc., announced on Friday it will build a $12 billion chip factory in Arizona in what the company calls a strong partnership with the U.S. government. Pompeo said the investment will strengthen U.S.-Taiwan ties. TSMC's announcement comes at a critical juncture when China is competing to dominate cutting-edge technology and control critical industries. The TSMC facility in Arizona will increase U.S. economic independence, Pompeo said on Friday. This is Jyoti reporting for Our Voice.